the database management systems. It is one of the tools that Microsoft has produced, and it is taking care of managing the data in back end. The meaning of the managing the data, it is to tackle all the activities that we may do to process data. Let's say search, sort, retrieval, insert, addition, deletion, and so on. All of them, they are considered to be management, and all the sources that they may produce analysis results and so on, they are all one of the they are all actually the responsibility of the DBMSs. The SQL Server, the one we are going after, is one of the very famous professional tools that have so many distributions. Numerous, it's not so many, but it has distributions that they are fit in different platforms. Just as go through, we are tackling the SQL as a tool, SQL as a tool, structured query language for querying and interrogating the database, databases in general, to interrogate the data store, and we are going to also interrogate define and understand more what does it mean to deal with the SQL Server specifically, rather than dealing with others. The main objectives we saw also last class, and this what I was discussing, the definition of the SQL Server itself, in addition to the queries we are going to utilize to interrogate the databases. When I say databases, means we talk about the data store, where the data are residing in background. First preview that you have to understand is that whenever we talk about the data store, in background, we are talking about a specific architecture where how the applications they are running. In this context, we talk about client-server architecture, in the sense of we are having clients to utilize the service or the services that the application is, let's say, delivered, and we have a background processor that produces services results and let's say request results and receives requests from clients and so on, which is the server itself. In our context, the SQL Server in this unit, the considered server is the SQL Server, the DBMS database management system, and all the users of our application, or the let's say the interfaces, they are clients. Thus, we are talking about client-server architecture. It is one of the very famous centralized scenarios where we see one central unit that distributes and constitutes the totality of the service that end users seek for. One step further, actually the first definition, again I'm repeating, the client-server architecture, it is one of the contexts that the clients follow to retrieve data. They pass their requests to the application. The application transmits the request to the server, the background, and the server do the process and replies with submitting the response, no more, no less. And input and output, they are done through interfaces. Input and output, they are done through interfaces. Those interfaces, they are the APIs developed by the application or delivered by the application, where the users can interact with the application. They will not be able to deal with the database immediately. No, they will deal with interfaces where they can do inputs, and also they will receive the responses, which are the outputs actually. So the interfaces, they are the key for delivering either requests from the side of the client or the responses from the server itself. So in, out, there are two contexts that the clients have the benefit, or let's say they utilize the interfaces for such purposes. Still, the client-server architecture, if you remember well, in the design, the architecture of a web application or design web application unit number 1, we talked about the context of tiers. Actually, a client is residing somewhere in the world. The server, the background server, also is residing in another part in the world. Client is, for example, here in Israel. The server is in the Massachusetts in the United States, or something like that. There is a big distance in between. So, thus, to deliver a request or to deliver a response, there have to be, let's say, intermediate units, computers or servers, or let's say Whatever depends on the application actually. If you are dealing with just simple static application or dynamic application or a mail server, whatever. So there will be units in between to to relay the unit the sorry the sender to relay the client to the server and the vice versa to relay the server to the client. So in request or in response. We talk about two tier two اثنين two. We talk two number two tier. Why? Because this is the very basic architecture we may see, or the very basic scenario immediately from the client to the server. There is no intermediate units. But we may talk about three tier if there is one unit in between. We may talk about n tier and so on. So the context of the tier, it is a scenario via which we see the number of nodes are interacting with the one to the other. I'm just searching a graph to demonstrate to you, to show you the context of the 3 or 4 tiers and so on. That's great. Let it load first. I'm waiting for the computer only to load. I'll show you the graph. Yes, good. So strange. Are you seeing this interface? Is it visible to you, please? Just declare.
Yes, Mr. Yes.
Shall I mark you absent, all of you? Good suggestion, I think. Good. This is, yes, great. Here it is. This is a two-tier. Immediately we have the requests that the client, they utilize an interface or whatever the application front end solutions, and they immediately submit the request to the data store. I mean, this is a two-tier. This is a two-tier architecture. And also we may see actually three-tier, like the graph here. I'm going to just scroll down. There will be actually intermediates in between. Similarly, we may talk the web application, or sorry, web server or application server. They are intermediates where the requests from the users, they might be passing through, and the responses from the database, they might also pass through. Thus, these an intermediate that have a role. It's not just available there without anything. No, it is having a process to do, either to pass the request from the client to the database, or the vice versa, to send up the response from the database to the end user. So it has a role in between. So if it is one, we may talk about three. If there are two, we may talk about four, and so on. It depends how many nodes we have here. As many as we count here: one layer, second layer, third layer. So we talk about three tier. If there are more than that, it depends on the number: four tier, five tiers, and so on. So it depends on the number of the units that they intermediate the communication between the client and the server. We come back and we continue. Okay, the benefit of the the utilization of this context client server architecture and the utilization of the data store in background, they are numerous. Mainly, we see actually the data share. Instead of just giving a copy and an instance of each data we need from an application to the end user, we may utilize one shared resource for all to gain time and to gain space. So the context of sharing data, it is one of the benefits that the DBMS provides, and this is one of the benefits that the client server architecture provides. Both, let's say, actors, the client server architecture and the database, actually DBMSs in general, whatever the scenario is. The data sharing is one of the benefits that those, let's say, actors of those scenarios produce or procure to the end users. Whatever, even for the business owners, even, because when we say that we are going to gain space and we are going to gain time, it is one of the positive tasks to be the business owner be benefiting from. So Data sharing is one of the benefits. Duplication of the context of the when we say that we may give an instance or a copy of a data to every user, 100% there will be, let's say, redundancy. So such redundancy and such duplication of data would be reduced. Means which copy is the latest updated copy if you are just given a copy to each user separately. It's hard to recognize, and it's a long time consuming process to do if you are willing to check up which updated copy. But in the case of the client server, no, there will be no redundancy and no duplication. The updated copy is the shared copy, and it's the unique copy delivered to all users at the end. Any questions here, please?
No, doctor, thank you.
Thank you. Mazur, any questions? مزون السؤال لك. If you hear your name, please, everybody, if you hear your name, just type yes. If you hear your name, type yes. I want to interrupt that. Well, I'll finish the recording later on and I'll do the attendance. Okay, for Mazun is absent. He's one of the recorders. Late, yeah, Mazun, late. What was you doing? What were you doing? Good. Let's have one step further. The SQL Server as one of the tools that manages the creation of the client server architecture based solutions. It is a web enabled, let's say, tool. Means we can utilize the SQL products to be run on web. Yes, absolutely. The database, the SQL Server database, they might be, let's say, migrated to the web platform. Yes, we can. It is scalable and reliable. Absolutely, it can give us a very trustful, let's say, solution. Means the database is generated by the SQL Server. They are absolute to be running on different platforms without any issue. Scalable and reliable means they will not present any problem in integration and in compatibility. Uh, and also, since it is very compatible, scalable, and reliable, so it would give actually a fast time in integration in the market. So it would not present any issue when we talk about the business production based on the MS SQL Server utilization. Okay, one of the very famous tools that the SQL Server Microsoft actually has produced to us or procured to us, which is one of the key distinction points in between the SQL Server itself when we compare to other databases or database management systems, is the TSQL, the Transact SQL. This is the way how we create the transactions, how we create the SQL, the SQL queries, actually to retrieve a result from the database or to insert or to update or to delete or whatever, truncate. We are going to utilize an SQL query. Okay, that's good. We are going to utilize an SQL query. Yes, the SQL, it might actually, sorry, a specific task, it might require more than one SQL query, 2, 300, whatever, depends. So that's to facilitate the work in order not to rebuild the block again and again. And in addition to be able to secure the group of the transactions using some of the specificities. Another example, we have to run all the transactions, sorry, all the queries together or to conceal them all together. Thus, to fulfill such criteria, the TSQL had come in action. It is a way how to write the SQL queries. We are not going to eliminate these SQL queries. No, they are still valid and they are going to be still utilized and they are valid for all. Once for all, they will not be eliminated. Yet, how to manage the solutions based on the usage of the SQL, this is the role of the Transact SQL. This is what the Transact SQL would do. So it would specify how the developers would implement their solutions using the SQL. How? It is a matter of how implementing the solution. It is a context of writing the SQL queries altogether. It is a syntax. It is new features. How we are going to build the SQL solutions. In addition to that, the SQL Server, in addition to this feature, the TSQL, the Transact SQL, SQL Server also defines a new four data types, which are the date, time, money. I believe the date, time, money. There is one fourth. I remember. It is the fourth. Regardless, data types, they are one of the other features that the SQL Server is delivering to us. Good, good. So because of this only, we may utilize the SQL Server if we need a specific data type to run on the web, for example. So the SQL Server is one of the solutions. If we need to build specific, let's say, for example, merging queries, merging transactions, merging activities, so the SQL might help us in doing so because it enhances a predefined merge, let's say, procedure. Okay, let's proceed. First SQL query, let's say query. Let's have a brainstorm, and because I believe that you are not new to generating the SQL queries, I'll deduct marks and I'll add extra marks. I'll be managing the marks now based on the question I'm going to ask now. If I ask, you have to answer. If I ask, you have to answer. Accordingly to the question we see, or to the scenario we see here, according to the scenario we see here, we are required to implement or generate the query responsible for retrieving data, when the data is the list of the candidates presented for an interview. I repeat for the last time, we are required to display the list of candidates going to pass an interview, job interview. What would be if, for example, the table is recruitment? If the table is recruitment, here actually the database, database on the SQL Server. Whatever the table, let be the database recruitment, and the table is also recruitment. The name, it's a name only. What would be the SQL query? We need all the details of the candidates presented to sit for an interview or a job interview. The database name is recruitment, and the table is also recruitment. Raqia, can I have the answer, please? Raqia Abdullah Al-Afi. Are you with me? Raqia? Yes. So what would be the answer? What would be actually? Ahmed Al-Jabri, what would be the answer? Ahmed Al-Jabri? We can use the select state. Absolutely, it is the
Absolutely, it is the selector.
Rodina, yes,
Rodina, yes, that's good.
There is no
there is no other option.
Ahmed,
Ahmed,
any questions?
any questions?
Great. So the unique, it's not, we can, Rodina, that's good. It's not, it's the unique to retrieve data, only the select query. Good. Actually, it is only the select, but there is a rule here we are going to go through to build up any query in order to be sure that what we implement is correct. In order, there is a rule we are going to follow 4 steps in order to fulfill exactly the request, because we may go, depends, some questions we might have 2 or 3 solutions, but to fulfill exactly what the question is asking, let's go through those 4 steps. They are a suggestion from our book only. They are not a key, but they are key to build, but they are not a rule that you have to go through. The minute you may execute your query if you know, that's all. But to avoid, because we are still learning, we have to go through those 4 steps in order to avoid any error if errors happen. First of all, we see the question request. Based on that, we create a format. What do we want? The first name, the last name, the city, and the phone. Okay, there will be a table similar to this one, based on the request. This is the format. This is the format we're going to build. So the format is what the question is asking. The question is asking us the first name, the last name, the city, the phone of the candidates for let's say properties or for attributes. So we create a table to hold those values. Great. And now after that, draft of the query. The SQL immediately, the SQL query, how it would look like. We execute and we check up. We verify if the execution has fulfilled exactly what we built as a draft first. If yes, we continue perfect. If no, we have to revise the draft of the query. If what we found at the end is verifying exactly what we built in the format, so we continue the execution. Otherwise, we regenerate a new SQL query until we fulfill the outcome to match exactly what the format looks like. Okay, answering the question, the draft of the query is, so the select the query. We have we may utilize so many let's say attributes here. From, we are going to select an attribute, one of those, from a table name or from an object entirely, from an object, I may say. And we have a condition. Where? So I repeat, select is a keyword you cannot modify. From is a keyword you cannot modify. Where you utilize it if there is a condition. So this is the block that will display as the result for all cases, but we add the where clause if we need a condition specifically. For example, we need candidates that they have their age is above 30, so only old people. So we use the where clause. Other than that, we use only the select from. Select what? Select an attribute from a table name or from an object name, because objects inside a database, they are not only tables. We defined the procedures in the ASP.NET. We had a view on that. So select, okay, the solution would be select star from, let's go to the solution straightforward. Yes, this is the one. This is the SQL. Whatever the name, actually it might here recruitment or external candidate, like this is the name of the object, and those are the columns that we need to search for. So this is from our book only. If you refer to the book, chapter number 1, it is talking about the same context. One of the things that you have to know is that inside a project, we might utilize more than one database. Actually, when you talk about the SQL Server as an environment, the SQL Server has the capability to run more than one database. So to specify that we are connected and we need to have the result from this particular database, for example, this question is asking recruitment, so we use this query, use space database name. The database is recruitment, so use database recruitment. Then after the query would be launched. Use the recruitment, will tell the platform, the environment, the SQL Server, that the query would come later is from the recruitment to be executed inside the recruitment. So use recruitment, then select whatever we need. The checkup, it is the context of the output. Whenever you see the output here, is it matching exactly what the format looks like? If yes, you continue. If no, no, you stop there. Same scenario here. We are required to retrieve data from a database. Actually, we are not going to display only the list of the candidates, but all the users with different, let's say, with different roles, specifically from the city Tibisco, from the city Tibisco. We need to display the users, but if they are available in the Tibisco city, no more, no less. If they are here, so we're going to display them differently seen, not like here, just to display all the candidates for the interview. Let's say here now we are going to display them if they are in this Tibisco. So format, we look like actually recruiter name and whatever upon the request. This is not a key. It's not a must. It means whenever you have a question or request, from that you may build up your format. Okay, the draft of the query. The draft of the query. Select simply. A query analyzer window. So let me because we are utilizing here the headers, so I have to be sure from the question itself. The view senior management on manpower. You need to write query to display a list of the budgeted and the actual people available of various roles from the recruitment database. Simply select a query. Full stop. I'll pass to the next topic, which is actually the context of the labels. The context of the labels. We are going to display the available here. We are going to display the available, let's say, recruit and let's say companies with their charges, but the display, we are going to change the name and the header of the format in two different names. Here we are going to type recruiter name. It's not what the table holds inside the database. We are going to utilize a specific header. We're going to utilize a specific header. Means the column, we are going to give it a title. The second column, we're going to give it a title, and so on. So let's utilize those names here. To do so, the same select query, we're going to modify in order to fulfill the request. So for the names, we are going to utilize the higher name, the recruiter name. How to do so? To indicate that the names would be in a column with the title recruiter name. Simply, we write the title we need in between quotes, equal the field name. This is from the entity. This is from the entity, the C name. This is the title we need. This is the header we need in between quotes. The same scenario for the charge. This is the field name, and before of that, the header name in between quotes. So the header name, it's a literal, it's a text in between quotes that vaults equal the attribute name. So this one has to be exactly from the table, but this one, no. This one is from you as a user. The higher charge is from you as a user. Is the title from you or from the question, from the request? Then after would come and verification and checkup if it matches the draft or not. Good. CAPS recruitment by Tibisco needs to be conducted in the state of California. Clearly, here we'll use the work laws. Therefore, details of all colleges in the state of California are required. Very easy. So we are going to display all the details of the colleges, but they have to be in California city, California state. Draft. Then after this is the draft. So the college code, college name, whatever. Some details related to the colleges. Those are values available at the table only. We're going to display them. But we need to state that the city is California city or state. Let me come back to the question. Because in the state, clearly, he's saying in the state of California. So the state the C state. The C state has to be California. If the value here is California, here California, so display. Otherwise, we don't display. So the draft of the query where search condition we have here. The select query from table where condition comes here. The condition here actually the state equals to California. From where I got the state equal to California, state vaults California. Let's build up the solution. We are going to display everything, for example, from the college or from the unit or the object college, where the C state equals California between quotation. Simply. So the extra value here is the where clause. The extra part of this query. The extra value within this query is the where clause. Within this query is the where clause. So verification, no more, no less. Under review, the names, address, and so on. Customer, the required information. Okay, there are some other, let's say, capabilities or another potential that the SQL Server gives to us, which is the context of the mathematical operations. The math operations, yes, the regular math operations, we know, they are supported and can be actually manipulated from within the SQL Server itself, from inside the database management system itself. So can we pass a query with the with a math operation to the SQL Server? Absolutely we can, and it would be executed, and there will be a result to be displayed. The basic math operations are the addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and the modulus or the modulo. They are basic math functions that we may go through, and the SQL Server would understand, execute, and procure results to the end user, to the request owner. They are mainly given the title arithmetic operations or arithmetic operations using the arithmetic operators. The subtraction, division, multiplication, modulus, whatever. They are all operators. Good. Actually, still the same math conditions or math rules, they are to be respected, and they are to be actually applied accordingly. So here you have to note that the same mathematical rules with the talking about the orders and how to execute those arithmetic operations using those arithmetic operators still to be respected here from within inside the SQL Server itself. The arithmetic operations, they are not unique. The arithmetic operations using the arithmetic operators, they are not unique math actions that the SQL Server enhances. We see other operations that might be utilized, which are based on the logical operators, based on the comparison operators, and so on. We'll see them one by one. Those are four main pillars. Actually, we'll talk. We start by the let's say logical. Yes, logical operators. Candidates who have scored, let's say, marks in between 10, 100, and 80. Actually, they are going to be seated for an interview. Therefore, actually, they have to be listed. Their names and their details, they have to be listed. So we are going to list. We're going to list the candidates that their score is in between 80 and 100. The GPA, for example, as per our grade scale, is in between 80 and 100. So they are going to sit for an interview, job interview. So we have to check up the grade. That has to be greater than 80 and less than 100. And the details would be displayed. So there will be a work loss, absolutely. There will be a work loss. The same 4 steps. The format This is what we expect to have: first name, last name, and the score. First name and last name and the score. And then after, let's build up the second machine, the draft of the query. Let's go for the query. Here we are going to utilize the logical operators. We are going to build up the logical operators. Why? Because for example, the GPA, let's say the test score is to be either more than 80 and less than 100. It's not, it has to be more than 80 and less than 100. So we're going to use the and, let's say, property. Means both of them, of the conditions, has to apply. Both. We cannot give a score 110, or if his score is 70, he will not sit. So it has to be in between 80 and 100. Logical operators, they are not only the and. Also, we have the or and we have the not. Means a condition is falsified, neutral state. We utilize them. Let's go on and build this query result. So we are going to this the syntax here, expression where the and or not is going to be utilized. This is the solution. Select first name, last name, and the score from the table name, where the score, here it is, the same value, the same attribute, the same, let's say, field, greater than or equal to 80, and the same score, the same field is less than or equal to 100. So the work clause has two conditions to be fulfilled: that the score is greater than or equal to 80, and also the same score is greater than, is less than or equal to 100. To fulfill the condition, no, the two conditions have to be fulfilled. Execute and test. Yes, if they are the results, if they are exactly, the scores are above 80 and less than 100, so they are accepted. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, no. Still, let's go for the other type of operators to be utilized here. The comparison, the context of the comparison. Retrieve from table based on the condition specific. Still, it is going to be applied only in the work clause. Let's have a look for an example. Comparing operators allow retrieval from a table based on the condition specified in the work clause. Yes, so all is going to be in the work clause. I come back to the example first, to the grade, the score display. Where it is? Yes, here it is. This is a comparison. This is a comparison tool. This is a comparison operator. Since the score is being compared with 80, so this is a comparison operator. This is another comparison operator. The score is greater than or equal to 80. This is a comparison. The score is less than or equal to 100. This is a comparison to operator. So this is another example. This is a logical. The and is a logical operator. The logical operator is the and. I stop at this comparison context here. I'm going to stop the recording and I'll check up the attendance, the recording, just to give you a brief video to utilize later on in the yes, for your reference.